Welcome everyone, it's Tuesday, and that means it's No Filter Tuesday. Today's guest, wow, she is a critically acclaimed actress, Emmy Award-winning comedian, writer, and everything else. Friend, mother, wife, and the most incredible political activist I think I know. She hates Donald Trump. I think I can say that. She doesn't take any prisoners. No prisoners. And it's fair to say she will make you laugh your socks off. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome today's guest, Amy Schumer.
Oh, thank you. That's the nicest intro I've ever had in my life.
Oh,
I just want to play that on a loop over and over. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really lucky to be good. How are you?
I'm good. I can't complain.
Yeah.
You are my first show that I'm doing from Lagos, Nigeria.
It is an
so
honor.
Happy it's you.
Yes, me too. Yeah, last time we talked on the phone, it was about Nigeria. So I'm really happy to be, connecting like this.
So where are you right now, Amy, may I ask?
Yes, I am in New York. I was on Martha's Vineyard the whole pandemic. My husband's from there. And so we just were kind of like hiding out and trying to be safe there. And we just got back to New York Monday. So it's kind of like, a re-entry because Martha's Vineyard, there's no, we didn't go to a restaurant or, anything like that. It was, it's very desolate. So it feels good to be back in Manhattan. Yeah.
How is the city?
It's good. I was, mentally preparing for it to feel a lot. I'm on the Upper West Side, so I don't know. It feels the same to me. Everyone's wearing masks, so that's great. And but yeah, it just feels good to be home, even though it's a raging pandemic out there.
Now, everyone, I've come to know Amy as, for me, you're like a politician. I mean, God. Were you always interested in politics?
No. I remember never. I mean, I was always interested in justice, and like things being fair, but I never. I mean, I voted. I always voted once I could, but I just no. And I remember being kind of annoyed when somebody would get famous or something and then they would get political. I was like, what is it, So but then once your eyes are open, what do you got to do?
Ronald Reagan?
Yeah. No, exactly. I was like, ugh, but you can't help if you have that in your heart that you want what's right.
Well, Amy has a huge heart.
You have a huge heart.
She has a huge heart, and you have worked this pandemic. You really have. I mean, honestly, just take my hat off to you. And this particular election, you were in it.
You too.
In it to win it.
Thank you.
And I know you are also in the same with the Senate runoffs.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It's hard because it's not, it's all eyes are on Georgia. That's it. Yeah. It's so that's an interesting position because people don't want to be advised. If I live in Georgia and someone's telling me what to do, I'm like, don't worry, I live here, so it's like a sensitive thing, but God, I really hope, I hope we win Georgia. Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, like we say here on No Filter. So you have a very colorful family history. Is it true that your grandmother was a New York City bootlegger?
Yes. My great grandma, Estelle Schumer, the liquor store is still there. We on 54th Street.
And what? 54th and what?
54th between Madison and 5th.
I've seen that liquor store.
It's right across.
I've seen that.
It's Schumers Liquor. It's right across from Alizé, from the Elysee, from the Monkey Bar.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So, it's still there, but that was my great grandma's liquor store. And then when Prohibition happened, she was a bootlegger. And then when Prohibition ended, she got the 7th liquor license. Like it says 7 of all the places in Manhattan, hers was 7, but it's still there. And
That's amazing.
I'm proud of that family history. And she was always like, she lived to like 97, and she would say things to me like, I need to go get a blowjob. And she would mean like her hair, like I need I gotta get a blowjob. And we would go get a bagel, and she would get the cream cheese on the side because it saved 10 cents. I mean, this woman was the real deal. Lived in a studio apartment in Manhattan, 96 years. Did you ever do, like I did that show, Finding Your Roots? Did you ever do a whole thing where
I just emailed with Skippy Gates, and he asked me the very first time, but I didn't know what it was. So now we have a show in England called This Is Your Life, but Skippy's has gone one step further because it's your DNA. So I just said yes to it. Did you do it?
I did it. I'm so glad you're doing it. It was so incredible. It was so moving.
What did you find out?
I found out that on my Jewish side, that I come from a long line of organizers, which I had no idea. They were all, they came.
That makes sense, Amy.
I know, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's in my roots. It was the craziest thing. So on one side, like the Jewish side who, fled Austria, they wound up being tailors and garment workers on the Lower East Side and trying to unionize and protesting. And then my other side, which is so crazy, from London, went to Massachusetts, and they were some of my descendants, they were stolen. There was a time where they were stolen and they were moved up to Montreal because they were sold into slavery, which I know I have my roots are all white, but they were sold into slavery to this tribe up in Canada. And so years later, they went to go find them, and they went and they were leading the tribe. They had become the chief of the tribe. Yes. And they had dirt on their faces. They were, wearing like nothing. And they were like, we're here to rescue you. And they were like, we're not leaving. We're the heads of this tribe.
And then, of course, we have your very well-known, and I got to meet him at the Human Rights Organization in January, the Chuck Schumer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm really proud to be related to him. I think
he's a wonderful man. He's very transparent. He makes you feel very warm.
Yeah, he's a really warm person and very familial. And he calls me Cousin Amy. And it's just, he's really sweet. He's always been there for me. And, just once my eyes were open to activism, that's when we really got to know each other, because we both wanted to fight for the same things.
How were you as a child? You were very candid in the book that you wrote, which was The Girl with a Lower Back Tattoo.
Yeah.
Did you find that very therapeutic?
Yeah, it's hard when you're talking about your own real life. You have to keep other people's feelings in mind, and but also, everybody, for the most part, everyone in my life is like, tell your story, share, what you want. Go
ahead and say it. I'm kind of going through that too right now. Like, I've had this big fear that in my mind always says, write your book. And I'm like, okay, I just think of myself sitting at a desk actually writing it. And I'm like, no, I've got no time. I can't do it. And now I'm just breaking into like, okay, I'm going to do this. But it's like you just said, I want to be respectful of others and their feelings.
I know. So I just asked everybody, I would write something and say, will you read this? And I'll change anything you don't like, But it also just gives you insight into sort of how you became the way you are. And I was definitely trying to make everyone laugh, make everything okay, because our family was going through, we went from having a lot of money to complete bankruptcy, and moved into like this little house. And my dad got MS and he was sick, and they divorced. So it was just this crazy time where, I was the middle child and just trying to make everyone laugh and be like, this is fine. We're good. This is great. Yeah. So I'm like obsessed with that period in your life, like just that age of being around like 12 or 13, where who you could trust and who you, I mean, what was going on with you when you were 12? Were you already famous?
No, but I was working. I've been working since I
Yeah.
was 5.
Yeah.
Definitely was working, knew how the feeling of competition, because at school, I went to a stage school, so it was like we would get jobs, and so I knew I had to do my best if I wanted to get that job. So I knew that kind of thing. So the
Right.
rejection part was not so bad. I kind of understood the rejection part in the modeling when I started, so I didn't
Such a
take
young
it
age.
too deep.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was but I was funny. I was always trying to be funny. And I just like I would make people laugh when I wasn't even
When
trying
did
to.
you discover that you could make people laugh? At what age were you? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I was 5 because I remember I was in a play. I was in Sound of Music. It was just at like some high school and they needed someone to play
I
the
love the Sound of
5-year-old.
Music.
I know, me too. I've been playing that record for my son. But you know, 5 years old, and like I asked my mom, she wasn't a stage mom. I just knew I wanted to perform. I was like a born performer, just
Yeah.
telling stories to my stuffed animals. And I was in this play, and every time I would come on stage and I would say something, the audience would laugh. And I was embarrassed and I felt like hurt by it. And the director said, "Hey, when people laugh, that means you made them happy and they love you." And I was like, oh, it just really changed my perspective on it, because I had been embarrassed that people were laughing at me. And then I took it as a compliment. Because it was just, a 5-year-old kid comes on and says a line, you're gonna laugh.
It's a gift to have. It's a real
Yeah, it
gift to
is.
have.
It really is.
So were you the teacher's nightmare or pet?
It depends on the subject. English and history. So I was voted teacher's worst nightmare in high school. That was one of my superlatives. I got class clown and teacher's worst nightmare. But they well, first of all, the guy who won that, the male teacher's worst nightmare, asked that it not appear in the yearbook because his parents were good. I was proud. But my like English and history teachers were like, what do you mean? Like, you're such a good student. Because I was interested, but math and science, my brain, I was just in there trying to make people laugh and just getting by. It's kind of incredible that I graduated from high school, but I got in trouble a lot. I had Saturday detention a lot. Did you
You
guys
did? So
did you
what
guys
was
have a
Saturday
Saturday?
detention? Did that consist of like having to do like a whole day of school?
Yeah, it was like the Breakfast Club. Like, you would have to come in on a Saturday and just sit at a desk quietly, and you could do work or whatever. But even in there, I was trying to make everybody laugh. And yeah,
Did I get detention? I got detention as a whole in the class. Like if the
what do you
class
mean?
like if my class was like just was obstinate to the teacher for some reason, boom,
Oh,
the whole class got it.
the whole
So
class.
I
Okay.
don't think I got detention like you, Naomi, you got detention. But I did detention a few times, and it was crazy because it was like you just had to stay after school. So we never had time to even have to tell our parents that we were coming home late because,
Oh,
and I used to travel like 2 hours to get to school.
oh my God. Where were you?
I lived in South London, in between Brixton and Streatham, and raised in both, and then ended up in Streatham. And then I went to school, so South London, I went to school in West London. So it was 2 buses and a train, or 2 buses and a train.
Jeez.
But I loved it. I was dedicated and going. So I just,
Yeah. That explains a lot. That says a lot.
It does. So around 5-year-olds was the first time you knew you were funny. What age were you when you knew you could hold a room?
Oh, 30. Like, well, I mean, as a performer, I went to college for theater and did some plays there, and I felt like I was a good performer and like I had potential to be really good. So I went and I studied with William Esper, who died last year. But it was a 2-year Meisner intensive. So that technique. And in that class, I felt like I had, like, I had something, like something. And I started stand up, and you're not good at stand up right away. It takes years, but I felt like I was good enough and I had the potential that if I worked hard, I could get better and good at it.
Can you walk me through when you start stand up? What's the process? You have to tour around America. How do you do? Or you pick one particular?
You're lucky because you start in whatever city you're in, and you do open mics, and you do shows called bringer shows where you have to get 4 people to show up and buy 2 drinks. Yeah, and that's why and I would do something called barking, where you stand outside. And I'm sure you've seen them in the West Village or in Greenwich Village. Like, you want to see a comedy show? You want to see a comedy show? Like, those people are usually comedians. And if you get people,
I've been to that place in West Village. I missed you and Chris and Dave one night. You did like an impromptu, and I missed you.
That would have been so fun.
I just flew in the day after. I was like, what? They're like, yeah. Dave was like, I was with Amy and Chris last night. We did it impromptu. And I was just like,
it was so cool. It was like that show. I think it was like Seinfeld was on it, and
brilliant.
Hal and Chris. So it was like such a fun random night. None of us planned it. I think maybe I had text Chris saying I was going, but we all just happened to show up to work out material. Oh God, I miss stand up.
I mean, you are connected. You all know each other. All of you, Chris, Dave Chappelle, Chris.
Yeah,
Rock,
we're all friends. We're all friends. Yeah, it is. I think it's a really nice community. At least, I mean, I've only lived in New York, but I'm sure it's the same in LA. But in New York, it's like, especially, when you get to a certain level, like, you get excited for somebody new who's doing well, who understands sort of the struggles you're going through, and you can talk to about it. So those guys were all really warm to me when I started having some success. There was no.
They embraced you.
They embraced me, and I have such a respect for comedy and stand up and for those guys. So I think you can tell that too.
Well, Dave loves you, because that's what I was like.
I love you.
When did you decide you wanted to make this your career, comedy? Because that's a big decision.
That is big. Well, I still haven't made that decision. No, but I started doing stand up, and I just liked it, and I didn't have any goals or aspirations even to do it professionally. I just was enjoying it and wanted to keep doing it. And then I got there was a college agent who booked shows at colleges, and she was like, I can book you at colleges. And she got me my first job, and it was so far north. It might have been like SUNY Potsdam. It was like almost in Canada, and it was in the middle of winter. It was like no comedian would do it, and I did it, and I got $800 for 1 hour. And
how much did you get, Amy?
I got $800 for 1 hour, and I was running around my apartment screaming. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that amount of money was possible to make in 1 hour. I've been, waitressing since I was 14 and bartending, and was just like, oh my God. So then I was like, okay, maybe I can start making a living on the road. And I worked up to, and I did this reality show called Last Comic Standing. And that made it so I could headline on the road for like a year, but then, that kind of the fame from that dissipated. And then I went back to opening for people. I opened for Jim Norton and David Tell on the road, whatever. I'd make like $100 a show or something like that and just get better. I just got better.
Did they treat you any differently because you were a woman? Do you ever feel
those guys? No, not those guys. I mean, a lot of people.
But in general, in the business of comedy.
Oh, yeah. The audience, even, a woman's coming up. That's just the time to go to the bathroom, like that kind of vibe. And I liked that because I could prove myself. Like, here's what you thought. And then, and then I would surprise them into laughing. And then, but,
they would drive you even more, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But people were always like, they always treat women differently. There's no way to get around it. Even when I was selling out arenas, like I had a couple of years where I was performing, I sold out the Garden twice. I was in all these cities where basketball teams are going, and still the promoters or whatever would still kind of talk to me like they call me sweetheart and just, things that I'm like, if Rock were here right now, is this how you?
Yes, exactly.
Like I filled your arena and you still can't show me any respect. But whatever. It's like, not worth it to give. But I do in those moments call them out because
you call them out?
I do call them out because I want it to be better for the next woman.
For the next woman
who comes along. That's what it's all about now. If a doctor makes you uncomfortable, if somebody in the business, you have to say,
call them out.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to call them out.
So Amy, may I ask you, since we're talking about calling out, what was the most craziest calling out you've ever done? To whom?
Oh, God. Well, the first thing that just came to mind was I did the Charlie Sheen roast, which was a really big moment for me. Comedy Central does those roasts.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay, so it's Charlie Sheen, and it was like the moment where he was. All the news seemed to be about Charlie Sheen. It was like the Tiger Blood thing and whatever. And I was unknown, and they put me on this roast, and I went hard. I went like too hard, and Mike Tyson started heckling me, and it was really surreal. Like Mike Tyson is sitting right there, 10 feet away from me, and he's like heckling me. Well, during my set on this TV show that was such a big deal for me, and I said like something like. Well, no, I said, is his interpreter here? Because like I couldn't understand what he was saying. Like, and I was like trashing Mike Tyson, and I'm like, this is insane.
This is insane.
Yeah. And so I would say that, but I mean, I can't control my tongue. Like I mean, we're even on some text chains together. We're all
but it's coming from a real place.
Yeah.
And it's never rude. Never.
Oh, thank you.
It's always uplifting, and we can do more. And you push us. You're a great leader.
Okay, thank you.
You have that quality. So now, is there anything that you wouldn't say out loud?
Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Do you ever sense you don't censor when you do your shows?
That something I shouldn't say?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've learned my lesson. Like I used to make jokes that now I don't think were funny at all. Like I played a character when I started stand up, and I would be like, say things that are really deranged, and like, I had some joke like it's not rape if you don't remember it, things that had like a cutting tone and a message, but could have been looked at as like whatever. So but now, like, I really only want to say things that are that are funny, but I don't want to like upset people. But by that, I do not mean
but that has
Republicans. Like, I don't care.
To it, right?
What?
That has truth to it. I mean, if you talk about what's going on in the world today, it's something that, a lot of people think but don't want to say.
Know where I stand, like there are a lot of comedians who won't touch politics and whatever. And talking about politics on stage is not my main thing, but everyone who comes to see my show knows exactly where I stand. They know that I was out working hard to try and get Hillary Clinton elected, and they know that I worked my ass off to do everything I could to help get Biden elected. Yeah, there's no question about
no question about
no, you too. And I think it's so freeing. It's so the people who don't say anything, I just think, God, I couldn't live like that.
I mean, I'm not American, but I was just like so happy to be part of your group and do what I can.
You are such an amazing activist. I am inspired by you. I am inspired by you. That's the truth. You go hard and you sacrifice yourself. You put a lot on the line, and a lot of people don't do that, but you really put yourself on the line in a way that's really inspiring to me. And and it's just, people don't do that. You know, it's really inspiring.
When you're doing your show, is there like a format? How much time do you take to rehearse? What's the process running up to the actual show?
Like a stand-up show. If I'm doing like an hour, I've been working on, I have like a set list, and I have an order, and I will, if it's like a big show, if I were doing like a tour of big theaters or
like
I would really
Garden that you've done twice, that you feel that twice.
I would
we gotta get that in there again.
I would go down to the Comedy Cellar and do a ton of shows and try different sections of the set, because usually, I mean, some people, will go down there and go on for like 4 hours, but I am scared that the staff will hate me. So I keep it to like 15,
so
20.
You just pick which pieces you want to test out.
But I could do like 4 sets in a night. I could run through the whole hour, doing little sets all around New York.
Yeah.
And
it's
prepare that way.
It's important that it seems to be, because I've heard Dave say it and you say it and Chris said that it's important for you to go and do those tests with the audience.
Oh yeah.
But what do you do? Just randomly show up?
Yeah. That's one of the privileges of being like a household name, is they'll let you do that. Yeah. But I mean, you still want to be respectful, because if you're bumping someone, the person who was supposed to go on next now has to wait, and everybody else might have to. So I'm real conscious of that. But it's also because as a woman, the guys can come down and they, this is a generalization, but for the most part, they don't care, because, but as women, we're supposed to make everybody like us. So I can't just kind of show up the way some other comic who's at, sort of has had the same success in stand-up as I have. And it's, there are feelings about it. Now,
you got an HBO special that was out. It came out early this year.
Chris directed that. Oh no, wait, I know what you mean. I had an HBO special, a stand-up special years ago, but my husband and I made a documentary about my pregnancy and our son.
Expecting Amy.
Yeah. And on our corner here on the Upper West Side, there are 3 huge signs for that months later, because it was out, and it's like on our block, and it's so embarrassing.
I love that.
I put that there. But yeah, we made that documentary about Jean's birth.
Was it an easy pregnancy for you?
Oh, hell no. No, it was a nightmare. It was like, I debated even sharing the documentary, because I was like, is this going to discourage people from getting pregnant? I had a Hyperemesis Gravidarum, which means you have severe nausea and vomiting I had it the whole pregnancy.
The whole time.
9 full months it was like I had food poisoning, and it was traumatic. But everyone says you're going to forget as soon as you have the baby. And I think I probably would have, your biology just takes over. But I have that documentary to remind myself not to get pregnant again.
Well, it was very explicit.
Yeah. A lot of nudity, and not in the way you typically see it.
Yeah, but it's to be able to do that, to help, that's also helping others,
I hope so.
Educating others. Yeah, because a lot of people need to know. They may not even know that's what their symptoms, what they had.
It's true. It is, and they don't do any research on it, because they only give money to research things that men go through. For the most part. I mean, no, seriously, there's like 30 different Viagras. There's like chewable Viagra.
Are you kidding me? 30 Viagras?
There's chewable. They were worried that men maybe you don't want to like swallow a pill. Just here, chew this. Did you ever hear that Peyronie's disease or whatever? The commercial where it's like, if a guy's penis curves, they have something for that. They researched and they got a team.
No way.
Yes.
What do you mean if it curves?
I go, everybody sees that commercial and they go, what? And then you remember one guy and you go, oh yeah, that one guy whose penis curved a little, if you remember, I remember one guy.
I'm gonna now go look for this commercial afterwards.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a whole thing. And I'm over here. I have endometriosis. I had like the worst pregnancy, and there's no studies done on it's like there's such little research on endometriosis. And women get. But
and it's really, when you put it in the comparison like that, it's actually really terrible.
If your dick curves to the left, though, don't worry, they've got you.
Now, I know you want a second because you have a beautiful baby boy now.
Yeah, we have a beautiful baby. Yeah, I'm so in love with him. We made some embryos, like I did IVF, and so now I don't know, we're considering surrogacy or maybe not, maybe just having the one little guy.
Can you tell us about the changing of his name?
Oh God. Okay, so this lets you know the kind of parent I am. So we came up with his name. So his name is Gene, and that was my husband's mom's name, who passed away. And then his middle name, I was like, well, my good friend Dave Attell, who I love, he's my favorite comedian, and he's like a family member. I've known him since I was a little kid. So we named him Gene Attell Fisher. And about a month in, I'm sitting on the couch with him, holding him, and I see on the internet somebody make that, like, a joke about it. And I'm like, oh my God, we named our son Genital Fisher. Like, we named our son, and all the blood went to my head. We seriously did not realize until then. We just didn't. So, it was like, well, we can either let him just get absolutely tortured in school, but I was like, no, we're changing it. I can't do this to him. So we changed
it. Kids are amazing gifts, but they can also be mean.
They can be so mean, and I'm sure you don't need your name to be genital to be bullied. Like, everyone, I feel like, winds up. The kids can find anything if they want, but
absolutely,
yeah.
So motherhood has changed your life.
Yeah. It's I mean, like, you're just.
But Amy, when did you sleep? Because you. It's like you never. It's like, for me, I feel like you sleep 3 hours a night.
I sleep a lot.
You do?
Oh yeah. It's no you. That's the thing. It's just because of privilege. It's just we have a nanny, and Jane, and she's a family member, of course, and we all do it together. We all take care of him together, and but it allows for. I mean, I didn't sleep when I was pregnant for more than like 2 hours a night. So after I had him, I've been sleeping pretty well, and he's a good sleeper. He goes to bed at 7 at night, and then he wakes up at 7 in the morning.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, people will hate me.
Did you and Jane train him to do that, or it just?
Yeah. He was sleep trained early, but and so it's like, having Jane has taught me so much, just seeing how she interacts with him, and it, like, I just feel like it's really freed me to be like the mom that I want to be, and like, just figuring out how you are as a parent. It's just, he's a year and a half now, so this is just like kind of when you can start communicating with them. So it's like, trying to figure that out and negotiating, and he just, because he can just say a couple words, and he can make animal noises, but if I'm like, what does an elephant say? But other than that, like, I just think about what it would be like to be alive and not be able to communicate. Like, he doesn't have words yet, and that must be so frustrating. So I try to sympathize with that and, help him out. Like,
try to formulate his words, Amy?
Well, but he'll be having like a like a little bit of a meltdown, and I'll just go, do you want to go find Daddy in the kitchen? And he'll go, yeah. He just doesn't have the capacity to like say what he wants. So
wait till he does.
It's like charades. Oh, I know. And everybody is like, I don't know. Maybe it'll be easier because he's a boy, but I'm just so crazy about him.
But what you do is grueling. It's grueling when you have to do your tours. I mean, we get to see, I understand part of your life. We get to see the finished product of you on stage. But the whole thing is like, it's worldwide touring.
Yeah. It's hard on your
body.
It's hard on everything. I mean, the thing is, it's really hard when you are just, because all you want, it's like I was waiting tables, and then I was like, okay, I just want to make a living on the road doing stand-up. And then you do that, and you make like, if you're like, at first you might make like $1,000 in 3 or 4 days, for like 8 shows, you might make like $1,000 if you're starting out, and you're staying.
Oh, no wonder that show in Canada was good. 800.
Oh yeah, no, a college is
Yeah.
different than a show at a club. A college, like, they pay you really well, but you're staying at some hotel that makes your skin hurt.
What, Best Western?
Yeah, like that kind of thing, and the sheets hurt, like, and the soap,
where the doors are outside. It's not like a building. It's like a.
No, right. You can go like right to your car. And you're there for like a couple days, and you're lonely, and and it just, you're like, once you get there, you're like, it's like anything else. You're like, well, I don't want to do this forever. So then once, I was like the headliner, and doing bigger, nicer places, and I could pick the hotel I was staying at and pick my openers. It was really fun, but it's always hard. It's still hard to go to a new city ever. It's fun, but I don't know if I could do it anymore.
Now, let me ask you, would you drive? Did you have a tour bus?
A couple tours, I had a tour bus, but it was,
by it, City and Night?
Yeah.
Do you want city?
Yeah, it was like,
that's
we would do a show. We would do a show, and then the bus would leave that night, and we would drive to the next place. And yeah, so we could have like the whole day somewhere. And but it's fun, it is fun, but it's hard, just traveling like that, and just packing your shit up every day, and being in a new place, and your body
or not packing at all, just never unpacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had tours on the road that were really hard, and I was really depressed. And then I've had some where it was like really lovely, and it was a great experience. Touring outside the country is so fun. Like,
So where outside of America have you loved touring the most? What country's been a great place for you? Great memories.
Well, actually, Denmark. Denmark was like amazing. I was so surprised. Like, I had, the people.
They're so chill in Denmark, aren't they? They're fun.
They're so fun. I had the best time. And Ireland, to be in Dublin.
Course. Oh,
and you know what? I feel like I did the O2 in London, and I really think I bombed. Like, I left that show, and I was ready to like kill, I was just ready to be like, here I am at the O2. And I just feel like I kind of fell flat there. I'll never, you remember the things that you're like.
Now, can I ask you something? Yeah. There's a certain timing to what you do, right? When you're on stage, did you feel like you were like, for you, because maybe the audience did not feel that, but maybe you felt like that, your timing. Is that what you felt?
I don't know. It was one of those, I mean, I've had shows over the years where I bombed so bad, and if you bombed really bad, because you get off stage and like kind of no one like looks at you. Like, they just kind of
like, out of your team, nobody wants to look you in the eyes.
Yeah, they're just like, you can just feel it, or they do look at you and they're like, and you're like, I know I just bombed. If I was lucky, my sister was with me, or my work partner Kevin Kane, because I would be like, did I just like really bomb? And sometimes they would go, yeah, and they would kind of be laughing at me. Like, one time I was at stage in Buffalo, New York, and I was just eating shit. Just everybody was just like, was so bad, and they were not feeling me. And my sister, she does this thing where it's not going well for me, and she's off behind the curtain, and she's going like this to me. Just like dancing, like that. I'm like laughing because I know. But then sometimes I would think, God, that really didn't go well, and they'd be like,
how do you turn it around? Because this is you're putting yourself out there, and how do you turn it around when you feel like it's not going the way you want it? Is there like do you keep some kind of gems in your pocket that you pull out and kind of?
No, I mean, you do that when you're starting. I think when you're starting out in comedy, I think you go like, okay, that didn't work. What about this? And you're like kind of tap dancing and like, and the audience can feel it. They're like, And you know, the difference of when a comedian's up there and you trust them and you're laughing and you're relaxed versus that feeling of like, you know, what I learned over the years, the reason that the only way to get better at stand-up is to do it so much is because you have to be bombing. You have to know what that feels like, and you need to know how to be able to dig yourself out, which sometimes you can't, like me in Buffalo. But sometimes you just acknowledge it. Yeah. You know, you go like, I just want to thank you for being the greatest audience I've ever had.
I don't feel like there's any mistakes. There's no mistakes. There's no right way to do it. You just go through.
Yeah, but it's good. It keeps you honest. Every single comic has a set once in a while where, maybe not Seinfeld, but every comic has a set once in a while where you just go like, ouch. It's kind of good for you to keep you honest, to keep you on your toes.
To keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't and it drives you.
The best thing that can happen is if you're taping a special or you're about to do a TV appearance or something, if you have a show before it, if you bomb right before it, that's actually good luck.
It's good luck.
Most comedians will tell you, yeah, because sometimes you're like, oh, I got a bomb coming, I can feel it, and then you get it out of the way, and then usually the performance that you've been working toward is great if you have a nice bomb.
Now, did you have a favorite comedian growing up?
I loved the women. I loved Rita Rudner and Whoopi. And I loved Gilda and Lucille Ball, just, Laverne and Shirley. I loved all these like shows, and it's always really been women for me. I mean, there's a lot of male comics that I love and make me, cry laughing, but it's fun when you can relate to the person more. Like right now, I would say if I could watch anybody, like who I would pay to see, I would pay to see Wanda Sykes. I would pay always to see Dave Attell. This guy, John Early, Caperland, Bridget Everett. I mean, there's
any young ones that you're mentoring?
I'm always like, there's some people that I, will ask for advice, and I am just, do my best. But there are some really funny people who, but stand up is something like an instrument. You have to do it for a while.
It is.
These people like Claudio Doherty, Jacqueline Novak, Janelle James, Mia Jackson, Aaron Jackson. Like there's some this guy LeVar Walker out of Atlanta. There are some really funny comics who are like about to just,
to get their time.
And I work with them. I'm like, I want to work with them because I'm like, please take me with you when you are, come at your moment, and I Feel Pretty, which we got to shoot together, which you were
we
so
got
great
to shoot
in.
I Feel Pretty.
You were so great, and
I was so nervous. I hope I didn't miss a movie.
Well, I didn't see that. You were just like really great to work with.
What can you tell us before we love us and leave us in terms of sense of where we stand now in the United States of America?
Oh my God.
We've got a new president and vice president coming in.
Thank God.
But there's a lot of mending to do, healing to do.
We have so much work to do. But I mean, I just feel this real sense of peace that Biden's going to be the president, because think about the alternative. It just would have been such hell. I don't even know. I just feel like we were all in this depression for 4 years here. Just, it was horrible. And so I feel good about that. And, I don't know what our real chances are to win the Senate, but I want everybody to fight so hard because we really need the Senate to get stuff done, as you know. But, in terms of things like...
You're hearing that, everybody? Amy needs all people to
anyone
have
their
eyes on Georgia.
All eyes on Georgia, guys. If you know anyone in Georgia, just make sure every single person is voting, even though I know everyone's tired of thinking about politics. Georgia.
No, because I feel like a lot of people feel like the elections happened, we're done.
Yeah, I wish that were true. I wish. That would be so nice. But no, we really need the Senate to be able to get anything done while Biden's in.
Poor man's gonna be just like constantly pulling teeth.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's because
we don't want that.
We'll just block any bills if we don't have the Senate majority. So, but what I'm hoping is that, you know, a lot of people have opened their eyes to just say racial injustice seems like an understatement, because I feel like we all, you know, people started to really pay attention. They had nowhere to go, and they're like, and they were like, oh my God, this George Floyd thing, you know, that murder was so, just so eye-opening to so many people. And then, you know, if people are doing what they should, which is educating themselves, they'll learn, like, just, you know, there are a million George Floyds. Like, it's, you know,
I mean, it was
Ahmaud Arbery, Michelle Clouseau, Kayla Moore, Elijah McClain. Like, these are names that should be in our hearts, and we should know everything that happened. But the thing is, what I've learned this year is that it's not about just the police. Like, of course we need police reform, and but it's about the way bigger picture, that we are living in a caste system that we're not acknowledging. We really are raised in this country to think that white people are superior. I mean, that's the ugly truth. Whether it's this thing that we don't talk about, but it is this underlying thing that's complete fiction.
What's happening in America in terms of George Floyd, just the young generation, just wanting to have their voice now and wanting to be seen and wanting to be heard. I think it's just going to sweep the globe.
Yeah, it's not going away.
Look what happened in India last week. India was huge.
I know, and I feel like it didn't get that much coverage here.
It got no coverage, hardly.
What is that about? Nigeria got no coverage. India got no coverage. I don't understand.
I was shocked about India.
Well, even like, you know, it's like these networks are trying to make money. These news networks, even the ones that we like. So there's just so much that they aren't covering. Like, even
they want to dictate.
What?
They want to dictate what we're to know.
Yeah, it's hard to trust it. Even like the news networks that I think of as trusting, they will, you know, they want ratings also. So, and I felt like with the, you know, with the coverage of Louisville, or, you know, and Breonna Taylor, and they would find like one person, you know, in one of these things, like one person would light a trash can on fire, one, and they would keep cutting to that, and look at this radical, you know, and it was
it's all cut together and edited together to like sabotage. It's completely.
It's so it's infuriating, and it's harmful, and you know, we just got to do our best to move the culture forward in our lifetimes, and I feel like you and I are doing that.
Amy Schumer, thank you so much for being on No Filter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Thank you for letting us know you'll have a bit of you and know more of you, and just thank you so much. Really,
Naomi,
really
love you, and
grateful to you.
Thank you so much. I love you right back.
Thank you, everyone, for watching No Filter with the Amy Schumer. She's not only one of the funniest women that I know, but as you see, she's so connected, so authentic, and wants a better world, and puts herself out to make sure that we get that. So thank you for watching this episode of No Filter. And I'd ask you, please, if you could please like my video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I want to send my love to all my Panthers out there. Brown girl.